Hello fellow tankers, this is Dauntless and welcome to Top 5. For this episode, we'll be taking a look at the top 5 reasons why I believe XVM is toxic. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't a top 5 why XVM should be removed from the game kind of list. It's kind of like a pros and cons list, but just taking a look at the cons. And I'm curious as to what you guys think as well, so feel free to leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are on XVM. Just try to keep it PG if you can. I know XVM is a really touchy subject, and let's be mature about this, guys. Starting things off, we have XVM sniping. Now, this is something that only pertains to probably about 30% of the population because not everyone is going to have stats impressive enough for people to want to snipe. But if you're a green player and above, according to XVM, it'll make other players want to solo you out more and prioritize you as more of a threat. Whereas there's a bat chat sitting in front of me, there's a Sheridan, and yet artillery chooses to shoot me twice versus those other targets. And realistically, a 59 patent is not that much of a threat. I mean, in the right hands, I guess it could be, but they would have had a better chance winning this if they had actually focused out the stronger, better tanks than me. So I'm putting this at number 5 because, again, it doesn't pertain to everyone, but I do feel like this is a very real and very damaging part of the game for players like myself, because it is frustrating when you log into a game, you're just trying to have a good time and you cannot get Artie to leave you alone, and so you can't play as aggressively as you want to. You constantly are having to play under cover, and you end up getting all your modules wrecked, and you just walk out not having a very good time and not being able to carry the way you would want to just because XVM told a certain player that you might be more of a threat than someone else. So again, number 5, XVM sniping. Next, at number 4, we have a superiority complex. Now, pay attention to this UDES on the right here. What ends up happening, he's out of position, he should have been in a bush or further back, and he ends up taking a lot of damage, and eventually he doesn't end up getting killed for his mistake. And a normal player might think, I might need to sit in a bush next time or not be in that position, but what does he do? He ends up blaming the team for it. And, you know, while XVM doesn't actually cause this, it does accelerate it. It's like putting gasoline on a fire. Right here, I am out of position. I end up taking a lot of damage. I almost die, but I don't blame my team for it. I just realized that I maybe shouldn't have done that play. And calling the team a bunch of stupid tomatoes is not really going to solve anything. It really just, you know, promotes self-justification and blame, and it's not going to help players become better. And XVM, unfortunately, with looking at other people's stats and your stats, it's really easy to just take a look and be like, hey, you're red, I'm green, I'm better than you, so you're the reason why we lost, or you're the reason why I died, you should have helped me, etc. And I had a lot more toxic examples of this, but I wanted to keep it pretty mild. You guys all know exactly what I'm talking about here. And you know, the main reason why this is at number 4 is because in a game that's not maybe doing so well right now, new players coming to this game is what's going to keep this game alive, in my opinion. And bringing them into a toxic environment where players are constantly belittling them and name-calling them just because they might not know exactly how a tank handles, how to penetrate a tank, map awareness, all of that, that takes a lot of games to learn. You know, XVM is not helping them learn correctly because it's going to make them frustrated when the entire team is belittling them, or even just one toxic player is making fun of them, and it's going to cause them to go play something else that's a little bit maybe, you know, better for their self-esteem. So anyway, number 4, we have superiority complex. Next, at number 3, we have toxicity. Now, this gameplay is sped up to ×2, so you can actually see the dialogue that happens in our team chat. And in my opinion, World of Tanks has a pretty toxic community as it is, and XVM only adds gasoline to the fire. This 1390 is deciding that the game is rigged, and that there's really no use trying, why bother? And honestly, if you could see the stats for this game with XVM, it was pretty bad. They had a lot of purple, pink, and blue players, while our team really had only a couple of good players on it. And our 1390 was actually one of them, and so the fact that he commits suicide just because, you know, all is lost, really didn't help our odds any better. And in my opinion, you should definitely try your best regardless of what the outcome is going to be. And ironically, this game was almost going to be a win. It actually came down to just me and a couple other tanks versus a couple of their vehicles. They ended up getting on our cap, and we actually couldn't spot them because I couldn't get close enough without exposing enough of my vehicle and, you know, risking getting killed. And having a light tank at the very end would have probably won us this game. And so the fact that he sacrificed his full life 1390 would be a good reason why we lost this game. And it's just really sad when you see this kind of stuff happening. You know, the enemy chat, that used to be a thing, and I'm really glad that World of Tanks got rid of that, because that led to a lot of people spitting at each other over chat, and that led to toxicity as well. And so I'm really glad that Wargaming got rid of that. But again, XVM, when you have those stats, being able to see win chances, seeing all of the unis on the enemy team leads to negativity, it leads to hate, rage, and it does affect gameplay. The fact that he remains in this chat, constantly talking to our team that's doing the best they can to carry this one player short, and he's really, you know, honestly, if he was going to stick around, he should have stayed in his vehicle without drowning it, but yet he sits here just talking about how World of Tanks is rigged instead of actually contributing. If you're going to kill yourself, then just get out of the battle and leave us alone and go play something else, because right now you're just distracting our team from doing what we actually want to do, which is win. So honestly, guys, XVM isn't, you know, a horrible thing, but this aspect of it does drive me crazy, where these people are constantly being negative. This is supposed to be a game, it's supposed to be fun, and if XVM is going to cause people to be negative and people to get angry or superior, I highly recommend not having it in the game. Running up at number 2, we have Win 8 farming. Win 8 farming is something that only exists because of Win 8, and it's people trying to get as much damage as possible per game without caring about their team or about winning, because they know that the more damage they do, the more their stats will increase. And really, this is a very selfish form of playing. I'm guilty of it myself, but only when I know it's completely impossible to win a game. But in this example, 10 minutes in that bad chat, that was the first time he had actually been lit. And he's a top tier vehicle in a tier 9 game, and he has all medium tank buddies with him. They should have all pushed down the K line and tried to actually win the cap instead of hiding in the corner. And that bad chat is the most guilty of them all, because he is at full life and he's not even trying to do anything other than farm damage at the very end. And realistically, Win 8 promotes damage over wins. It promotes solo play over teamwork, and it promotes camping as well instead of aggressive dynamic play. And it makes the game more boring, and it makes the game more toxic, kind of going back to point number 3 and number 4 actually, because it gives you bragging rights if you have these good stats. And you know, most of the time players' win rates will correspond with their win rate, but not always. In this bad chat, you wouldn't really know it if you looked at him, but he was actually a pink player. And I really expected more out of him, but he just ended up sitting in the very back the whole time, farming as much damage as he could, and in the end just ended up getting completely killed all alone without the help of his team, because he wasn't willing to help his team back. And this is a sad way to play. World of Tanks is supposed to be a fun, team-based game, and if you're just going to sit in the corner with your bat chat and snipe, what's really the point? Alright, last but certainly not least, we have XVM giving an unfair advantage to players that run vanilla. Or, you know, this argument could be held true for any mod, because realistically, if you have a mod, let's say the zoom mod, which in the past used to be a mod and not part of the game, it would give you an advantage because you could zoom in further and see more detail. But, you know, this example here is that I am running XVM, and I do know that this M48 Patton is the enemy team's best player. I see that he's out of position, and I decide to go in with my platoon mate and take advantage of the fact that he's alone. Now, he might have had support behind him. We didn't know that. It was kind of a higher risk move, and it would have been a smart move to play regardless of this guy's stats, but taking him out of the game early like that was key to actually winning this flank and ultimately winning the game. And I would argue that running XVM is one of the main reasons why I made that push to begin with, and it did give me an unfair advantage. And while XVM is legal and it is in the game, I will continue to use it because it does give me an edge over not using it, but I believe that removing it so no one could use it would be the best choice altogether. You know, everyone's going to be toxic regardless of XVM being in the game or not, but I think wargaming would be wise to remove things like this out of the game that are promoting toxic behavior, unfair behavior, anything in the game that's going to make it less competitive and more RNG based. And I think one way wargaming could actually battle this is to actually hide player data from games. When you go into a game, if you couldn't see the individual's name, that means XVM couldn't load out their stats. And realistically, when you go into a game, all you would know and all you would see is that, hey, there's an M48 patent, how am I going to deal with this? Instead of thinking about, okay, this guy's a pink player, how am I going to deal with it? Or do I need to relocate because this player is in this location, etc. And I think this could work, and you could definitely see their stats maybe after the game is done. But other than that, I really feel like removing XVM would be in wargaming's best interest, especially if they want to promote an environment where new players can come in and feel more at ease without all the pressure of performing and learning without being ridiculed for their performance. And kind of to wrap things up, I think XVM, while it is cool and it is interesting, it just makes the game overall more toxic and less enjoyable. And I think that wargaming would just do better not to have it in the game at all. So again, I do run XVM, and just like trying to sell a car, you know, I'm talking about the pros and cons. This is a list of the cons. If you guys have any other thoughts, these are the ones that came up on the top of my head. But if you guys have any other reasons why you don't like XVM, let me know down below in the comment section. And one more thing, I am running a contest currently to win a premium tank of your choice. I'll leave a link in the description below for you guys to check out. And for all of you guys out there playing, have a happy holiday, and I'll catch you next time.